So tell me about the last name Barger.
The first time I came across a family genealogy, my aunt, who was into this a bit, um, said, "Well, you're now 16. You're the oldest male in the whole family of six cousins. The oldest Barger male. Her sons, of course, were named for her husband." And my uncle didn't have any boys. He had a baby that died who was a boy. So I acquired the Alvin Lyle Barger genealogy record of the Barger family when I was 16. That would have been 1943. And it was written in 1926. And it traced the history of the family from New York up into Westchester County and then Putnam.
Mm-hmm.
And the conclusion from those locations is that the family came from Holland, from Rotterdam to New York. And my brother and I think that the shipping records that the Dutch had before 1675 should contain names of these people somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
My brother thought that since the British took over in New York in 1675, and for the second time, by the way, from the Dutch, that the Dutch ship that brought our Dutch people here, would have um, made shipping records, which the Dutch would have had, and moreover, that it would be very unlikely that more Dutch came after 1675 because they weren't in control of the place. So I don't know where I picked up the fact that there had been a guy named Barger in the east, just east of East Holland, in the Ems River Valley.
The what River Valley?
Ems,
Oh.
E-M-S, Ems River. M means wheat, by the way, and so it's a wheat growing area
Okay.
originally. I don't know where that story came from. No idea. But anyhow, the idea was that a guy named Borgholtz, that's Borg as in castle, just like Victor Borga,
Mm-hmm.
which means a castle person, which could be a guy who worked there all the way to an illegitimate child from the castle. And Holtz, which is wood in German and Dutch. So Castlewood, name very common name in England, which says that the Danes and Jutes took the name when they went to work in the original migration of Teutonics into England in the 5th century. um, Since the guy's name was Castlewood, you got to ask yourself the question: why did he leave Denmark? And so I made up some logic to go with that, like he was escaping, like some of our young guys who didn't want to be drafted went to Canada at one point, and lots of other examples you could mention. Anyhow, he ended up in a farm which he created and named outside the town of Nordhorn in the Ems River Valley, just out of Holland. Moreover, that area has been both German and Dutch. The border has been moved. So it's been the river and the East Hills and the West Hills, and so therefore the people who live there are sort of German Dutch in the first place. Except for this guy, of course, who's Danish. There must be a couple more points to make about that. Oh, yes, the name of the farmstead was, this is back before there were streets and numbers. And so, as an analogy to the British, who probably got the system from the continent in the first place, that farmstead had a name, and it was Burger Int. Now, Burger means a person loyal to the town castle,
Okay.
the Burg.
Spelled with a G. B-U.
Yes.
Right.
In German.
In German. Okay.
O-U in French.
Okay.
O in Danish.
Okay.
That's the Borg. Okay. The int, I don't have a clue about, except that ENT in German means out of, away from. It even means not. Or it means the opposite. For example, in German, spannen means to become tense.
Okay.
Entspannen means to relax.
Okay.
Okay. I've been looking for an exact analogy in English for ENT, and I haven't yet landed on it. It might be X.
Okay.
EX. Well, anyhow, that's about all I know, except that this took place in the 1400s or the 15th century.
So how'd we get to Barger? With an A, with the A.
Because he made it up from the German verb verbargen. Now, in the 15th century, there weren't any highly organized dictionaries. The first ones in English were Sam Johnson in the 18th century. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right.
1700.
And whether the Dutch had any dictionaries or any list of words or just a spoken language, I don't have a clue. The spoken language they must have had, but did it contain fair bargain? Who knows? I don't. We have to come up with a early Dutch person who's knowledgeable about early Dutch. There is such a guy, by the way, who runs a museum in Albany, the State Museum, State Library,
Okay.
who speaks medieval Dutch, and if I can ever get time, one of the things on my agenda for retirement is to go to Albany and do two things. Find out what he knows about the Lower Saxony Dutch word verbargen, and secondly, look at the shipping records, because no, they weren't burned by the British. They were singed.
Oh.
They were thrown out the window in the city hall in New York, and they ended up in the library in Albany.
That's amazing.
However, they're in medieval Dutch.
Oh, so you need the medieval Dutch guy.
So,
So tell me what do you think verbargen meant? And how do you think we got to Barger?
well, Barger is a lot of the concepts in German where the N is on the end of the word are location words.
So verbargen means to leave. Or to hide. What did you tell me it meant?
Conceal or
To,
hide.
to conceal or
Just
hide.
remove yourself from view.
Okay.
Okay?
And so tell me what you think Barger means
Well,
then.
For example, earlier in that, people lived in heaths. They pick a thick reed or a thorny, bushy area. They'd go in there and camp out.
Mm-hmm.
This removed them from view. So that the ruffians are running around looking for somebody to rape and rob, didn't find them first.
Right.
Okay? So the verbargen may originally have been used for people hiding out for their own protection.
Okay. Okay.
Okay? Although clearly there were deserters in the Roman army, and before that you could have the same concept. You're hiding, because in the case of deserting from the army, the penalty was severe and instant, and your head was missing.
So you think Barger was meant to mean something like I left or I'm hiding?
Yes, the one who's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh, yeah, sure. Springen is a good example. That means to jump or do gymnastics.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Springer is the
one
last
who
name
jumps.
that goes with springen.
Right. Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you change the N to an R and you get the person who's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
So our 15th century ancestor is the guy in hiding.
Yeah, practicing avoidance.
Okay.
Right.